YouTube, welcome back. We've got our Season 6 patch notes for you. I think the first thing to start off with is we've changed up the format a little bit. I used to read the full patch notes and then I started breaking it up into these are the things I think are most interesting about this patch and then read the full patch notes. It looks like not a lot of people really bother to watch the full red patch notes, so I'm just switching it up to just the pieces of information I think are most interesting and hopefully that makes it a little bit shorter of a video for you and something that's a little bit more enjoyable and useful, practical. But we will link the patch notes link in our description. So if you want to take a look at all of those changes, see what the numbers are, that will be down there for you. While you're down there, go ahead, hit the like, hit the sub button. Let us know if you like the new format in the comments. All right. So the big thing, number one, map changes. Bombs went off in the stadium. I think that everybody kind of saw that was going to happen. How is that going to affect gameplay? Looks like the idea is that there's all these fault lines now moving across the map from stadium to the air raid tower, from stadium to just outside of the hospital. And I guess the idea is with all these fault lines that are around the map, they're going to provide more opportunities for teams to rotate in areas that used to be more wide open. Feels like they've made finally a lot of changes to the map. It just kind of sucks that it was in the final season of Verdansk 1984. I expect these fault lines to be very similar to the areas of the map that were affected by the satellites. So the area themselves won't look a whole lot different in some aspects, but there will be more spots that you can get down, take cover in, and that I think is good for the game overall. As far as big map changes, downtown has been leveled up to the Nakatomi Tower building, is the way I understand it from their pictures and from the way they've described it in the patch notes. Yeah, there won't be as many areas for teams to go up to the roof and camp on, which again, I think is good for the game. Downtown is such a blah area anyways. It's a lot of running upstairs over and over and over or praying that you don't die going up a grapple. In addition to the changes made to the map through the bombing of the stadium, there's also bunkers are coming back. So there's going to be 3 World War II style bunkers that somehow the Axis put in there at some point. Honestly, I don't care if none of it makes sense. I'm happy they made changes. So at the radar array, there's going to be a bunker just north of that. There's going to be a bunker north of the silos in the boneyard. And there's going to be a bunker in the electrical transformers, or just north of the electrical transformers at the airport. They've kind of hinted that this, in addition to loot being down at the bottom of these, that there will also be some kind of Warzone Easter egg, and where will these come out? I don't know. It was unclear through reading the patch notes if any changes, maybe the red doors were gone, maybe they weren't. Looks like they fixed some bugs with red doors sound, so I would assume the red doors are here to stay through the remainder of Verdansk. Another big map change, well actually a map within a map change, the original Gulag coming back. Doesn't mean exactly what I think people wanted it to mean, but I think people will still be okay with it. So essentially, they have just ported the gunfight map Gulag into the Gulag. So this is not going to be exactly the same as the ones from the original Warzone map that we played a year ago, that a lot of people I think were expecting, so I don't know if that's going to upset people or not. It is still kind of a good map, and it was designed for these small close quarters combat, so I think it'll be all right. Plenty of sight lines, and that map seemed pretty balanced at the time. So I still think this is a W, even though it's not really what I think people thought it was going to be. Lastly, events. October 18th, The Haunting is coming back. That's going to be exciting. The Haunting was probably the best event Warzone did in its first year. Probably Warzone did, period. Probably the best thing that they did, period, as far as a new game type before maybe Iron Trials. So I think a lot of people are excited to see that. I know people have talked about the new skins coming out with that, and I think the bad guy from Scream was the one that people saw and was leaked. In addition to that, there's some playlist updates that's going to be interesting, maybe tick some people off. First off, each weekend is going to have a special Iron Trials mode. First weekend is going to be quads. The second weekend is going to be trios. The third week is when the Haunting of Verdansk starts, but they're going to use that week to add in Iron Trials duos for the whole week, and then finish it off with a weekend of Iron Trials solos at the end of 4 weeks. The thing I think people will be upset about is Rebirth is going to be alternating in between 2 modes. So they'll have quads and they'll have trios, but one of those modes is going to be shotties and snipes for the next 2 weeks at least. So I don't know how people will feel about that. If you don't like it, there'll still be, either trios or quads to play with that's regular Rebirth. But yeah, kind of feel like people will be upset because I don't know how much fun Shotty Snipes is. Maybe it's more fun on Rebirth. Maybe it's not. I don't know, but you got a week of that to look forward to, so enjoy that. Next thing on the list is new guns coming to Warzone this season. There's going to be 3 new guns. 2 are dropping at the launch of the season with the Battle Pass like every other season. First one's going to be the 410 Ironhide. It's going to be a lever-action shotgun that supposedly can kill in 2 shots from distance or 1 shot up close. So it'll be interesting to see if that is broken or not. My hope is that it's not. Shotguns are not great for the game when they're the dominant close quarters class. The next weapon that's going to be in Warzone with the Battle Pass is the Grav. It's the assault rifle. Reportedly has the fastest bullet velocity in the game. It's going to have modest damage, moderate recoil, so I'm thinking this is kind of like some kind of mix between a Krieg M13, imagine like the Grau maybe when it was at its height. So should be a gun that shoots fast and probably pretty accurate. The third gun is the Lapa SMG. Looks like it's going to be a kind of longer ranged SMG with a decent handling, decent range, just kind of a slower fire rate. So maybe this comes in as like a sniper support weapon. We'll have to see. That's going to actually be your reward for completing the Haunting event this year. Which is kind of cool. Gives you an incentive to play that new event. There's also going to be 2 melee weapons coming. First is going to be the Battle Axe. It's going to be a 2-handed weapon. That'll be available upon release of the new season, so at 12 p.m. or whatever time midnight is for you guys. The second is going to be the Hammer and Sickle, which looks like it's going to be an in-season reward, potentially drop around the same time as the Lapa, so I assume October 18th, when the Haunting of Verdansk starts, is when that'll be available for people. Looks like 5 guns were hit with the Nerf bat early this season. It's going to be the C58, the EM2, the MG82, the Stoner 63, and the OTS 9. C58 and the EM2 both had increases to their base recoil. The MG82 had some gun kick recoil increases, some recoil control increases, and then it actually had some play with its reload time. Stoner 63 also just had gun kick increases and recoil increases. So it seems like those guns that were the meta, they're kind of pushing just a slot back, or at least giving us more reasons to experiment and try some new things. The OTS-9 was the final gun to get nerfed. Looks like while no changes were made to the gun's physical attributes, the gun's magazine classes, specifically the Spetsnaz 40 round and the VDV 40 round fast mag, both had increases to their reload times. So while the gun might be able to perform just as well as it did with one clip before, maybe practically it's not as good anymore, or at least you're going to have to account for that reload time. The final and only change that was made to the weapon attachments overall was to the Tiger Team Spotlight. Looks like the movement speed multiplier and the ADS movement speed multiplier were both decreased. This feels like a kind of a direct nerf to all Cold War SMGs and shotguns that would have used that attachment. So maybe it's time to pick a different attachment in that slot. Probably doesn't change SMG play all that much, but definitely gives people more options. Guys, it looks like that's it for the patch notes. Again, if you want to see the full link to the patch notes, we will have it linked in the description to the video. While you're down there, hit the like, hit the sub button. That stuff really helps small creators. As soon as the update's out, we're going in. We're going to go see what it's all about. And I'm excited for once for some change. Guys, have a great day and enjoy.